Well, here we go. This is the cartridge shell that I just designed for the CoCo computer, or the Tandy color computer, rather. It uses these open source PCBs. They're actually a GPL v3 license, but there can be found. Of course, I'll put a link to them. It's the CoCo EEPROM pack by NF6X. And I had it done with hard gold plating. So in either case, it's one of those things. I needed some cartridges for my Tandy CoCo, and I figured what better way to do it than to actually have boards made and then create a custom cartridge shell for them. This cartridge shell is not 100% authentic, as you can tell. It doesn't have the little gripping grooves in it or anything like that, but for what it is pretty well made for the most part. I don't have, you can see, I mean, it's not going to really cave in or anything, but it is one of those projects that I think that was needed. I haven't seen any cartridge shell STLs out there in the market except for the flash cart that they offer for the Tandy CoCo now. But a lot of people don't really want flash carts. A lot of people want a separate cartridge for each game, and of course, you know, having the boards like this out there give you the ability to make that happen without, you know, tearing up an older game or something like that. And then having the cartridge shell, and of course you would need a 3D printer, but having the cartridge shell open sourced where you don't have to worry about, well, licensing or anything like that. That right there is a fantastic thing, because it allows you the ability to literally on your own make this game into a reality. So if you were a programmer and you wanted to actually have a physical copy of your game, you can burn the EEPROM, you can stick it on a board, and then you can make yourself a shell, put it on there, bam, now you have your game on an actual cartridge that you can plug into your computer. And of course, you know, you could also do reproductions with this, and that allows you the ability to source content that you would not normally have for whatever reason, whether they just don't have it available or if you can't afford it, whatever the situation may be. But I tend to think if you can afford a 3D printer and if you can afford to purchase you know, the boards from overseas, you can probably buy that cartridge that you're wanting so badly. But that's just my opinion. But if you want to do it, that's fine. This particular cartridge here, I actually have I think it's Kids on Keys. It's a little fun typing game. It was just something to try out with the board, because I just recently got a stack of these PCBs. Whenever I say stack, I mean I got a stack. I may actually even end up selling a couple of the boards. The great thing about the general purpose licensing is that I can sell these boards even though somebody else is the author of them, you know. So I may end up doing that, but we're going to get onto my computer and our screen capturing software, and we're going to show you a little bit about the files that I created, and just kind of give you a run through of what I've done. All right, so we'll see you there. Okay, so this is the GitHub for the NF6X CoCo EEPROM pack is what this guy's calling it, and the guy that did it is NF6X. He has dropped his Gerbers, board files, and sketches and everything into this directory, and it is GPL 3.0, meaning that you can take this, you can you know, manufacture boards and sell them on your website. I will probably be doing that since I'm the creator of the cartridge shell that goes with these boards, or was designed to use with these boards rather. So that's a handy little thing. I don't know if you know what GPL 3.0 means. It basically means you're giving it to the world for them to use in whatever manner that they would like to use them, as long as they you know, keep the same licensing for any changes that they make, and as long as they make sure that they provide the source. So, but it's got some information here on how to install the jumpers and things like that in order to make a particular size EEPROM work. it's pretty straightforward board. There's nothing wrong with it. I may end up creating another cartridge shell. That way you can put in a couple switches in order to be able to bank through the memory and select different banks of memory. That may be something that I do. I do not know. We'll see. It's a conversation for another day. But let's take a look at the boards themselves, or the cartridges themselves. So here are the files that I've generated in Autodesk. And we're just going to take a closer look at these. As you can see, we got some circles out here on the very lowest part of the layer, and they're like that on both boards. And the reason for that is these are actually from mouse ears. Now, if you've never 3D printed, one of the disadvantages to printing with ABS is that it tends to warp, and it has to do with heat and cooling and everything else. By putting these circles here, I can actually extrude these right before I get ready to generate my my STL files, and it will allow me to have a little flat disk of material that's connected to the main portion of the STL itself. And what that does is it allows the part to have kind of a hand that I can grab a hold of the build plate with. And I'll just kind of show you what I'm talking about here. I take this and I extrude, and let's do 0.7. And the reason for that being is because I typically print this at a 0.2 resolution, but if I set it at 0.6, it only does 2 layers, and if I set it at 0.7, it actually does do 3 layers. Okay, so now we want to actually click merge, and then just hit enter, and now we have a little disk. Let's see if I can get this. It's been a rough morning. Just a moment. There we go. Now we have this little disk of material that will actually hold on to the build surface and keep this corner from lifting up and curling. Okay? So that's a pretty handy little way of doing it. But this is the top of the shell, and it's got a pretty sturdy little screw. I don't even know what you'd call it. I'm sorry, this is early in the, well, not early in the morning, it's 11 o'clock in the morning, but I slept in early and I'm just getting up and having coffee. But in either case, this right here is just built there for the screw to go into it, actually, and go in. And I'm probably going to end up changing this a little bit. I want to actually make this hole just a little bit smaller. And the reason for that being is because whenever I put some screws in the cartridge shell that I showed you earlier, I noticed that it wasn't very tight. Not as tight as I would like, anyhow. So I'm afraid that you may end up having issues with it stripping out and things like that. But we'll see. We'll play with it and see what we can come up with. Now, the bottom half, it also has one of those, but it's got this little section in the middle that's raised up, and that's actually to where the board, it's got a little kind of a half moon shape cut out in the board itself, and it will actually sit down on this bottom part, and this upper part here will actually go through that. And of course it's got two I guess you could say pins here to hold the board in place whenever you insert and pull the board out of the computer itself. And of course it's got a countersunk hole here, as you can see, and what that's for is to actually allow the head of the screw to sit flush or recessed from the bottom of the shell. That way you don't have to worry about it sitting on a countertop and scratching it up or anything like that. And it's kind of keyed, if you will. It's got this little area right here that actually sits inside of the top half of the shell. And of course it's curved, and it's got the cutout here for the board itself, and it fits into the computer nicely. I haven't had any problems with it whatsoever. So if you want to download the STLs for it, I actually have them over on my Thingiverse page. And of course I've acknowledged that they are for the NF6X PCBs. And I've also put a link to the GitHub page that you can download the Gerbers for the boards themselves, as well as my own website. And also with this, if you look at the files, I've included the 123 design files. That way you can toy with these however you'd like. Okay? So I hope everybody enjoyed this. I hope that this helps you if you do have a Tandy killer computer. And if you like it, give me a thumbs up. Leave some comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, and obviously go visit my website, www.retrodepot.net. We have just launched a store. We don't have many things up there. We currently only have 2 things on the store. The first one is a couple of the PCBs for my G80S microcomputer, and we also have some crystal oscillators, some 12 megahertz crystal oscillators that are used primarily in ham radios, but anywhere where you need a sine wave clock signal, you can use them with, for example, 68,000 microprocessors and things like that. So anyhow, go check out the website. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and come back to this next time. Thanks.